further adventures of Sherlock Holmes, featuring John Patrick Lowry as Holmes and Lawrence Albert as Dr. Watson.
My name is Dr. John H. Watson. The story I'm about to tell you took place after Sherlock Holmes had solved the case I called The Adventure of the Sleeping Man. Shortly after that, Holmes left his practice and retired to a small farm on the Sussex Downs in October of 1903. I had been living on Queen Anne Street in London for about a year. Our partnership had dissolved, but our friendship had not, and I was able to manage a weekend visit to Sussex now and then. But each time it was clear to me that the magnificent mind of the world's first consulting detective was now occupied with philosophic studies and, of all things, beekeeping. As for me, now that I had more time to attend to my medical practice, my bank account began to grow, and I bought myself a motor car and learned how to drive it. One of my first long trips was on a Friday in mid-November for a visit to my old friend. Oh, the salt smell of the channel filled the air and fog was rolling up the cliff. I could see the dim lamplight as I approached his house, but no sign of Holmes. It was 8 o'clock. Holmes never went to bed this early when we were back on Baker Street. Still. Holmes! I say, Holmes! Then I looked through the Waverley glass more closely, and I saw him. He was sitting at his desk, motionless, with his head on his arms. Holmes, it's Watson! He didn't stir. I became alarmed. I tried the door, and he'd left it unlocked. A meager fire burned in the hearth, and the room was chilly. I hurried over to him to feel for a pulse, but as I did that, he stirred.
I'm not quite a corpse yet, Watson, but the idea is beginning to appeal to me.
Holmes, what's wrong? Are you ill?
No, just a bit weary. How long have you been here?
I just drove up. Are you sure you're all right? Are you sleeping well?
Too well. I come in from the field, intending to read or do some writing. The first thing I know, I'm asleep. It's the quiet, I suppose. And take off your slicker and goggles. How is your little automobile?
Ran like a watch all the way.
But you did have to stop and fuss with the sparking plugs round Reigate, I see.
Now, how in the world did you know that?
The simplest of observations, Watson. In this weather, the sparking plugs would have fouled up by the time you reached Reigate, and the road through that district is mostly green-brown clay. You got some of it on your gloves from wiping off the sparking plugs, and then you wiped off your goggles with the same rag and left smears of the mud on your forehead.
So I did. Yes, but how did you know it was the plugs?
To reach the sparking plugs, you had to crouch down. As you crouched, the tail of your rain slicker dragged in the mud.
You haven't lost the old touch, have you, Holmes? You still amaze me. Do you miss London?
Not at all.
Ever wish you were back in harness?
I've had opportunities to take on a case or two, and while the money tempted me, the work did not. But now my little hideaway seems to be turning into a car park.
Yes, I hear it.
I'll send him away, whoever he is. Do my eyes deceive me? It can't be.
Who is it?
My brother.
Mycroft?
What on earth could have pried him out of Whitehall? Yes, you found me, Mycroft. Come in out of the rain.
Hello, Sherlock. Dr. Watson, this is Sergeant Porter, my driver.
Sergeant?
Sir?
Well, perhaps I'd better put the kettle on for tea.
No, that's all right. We've had our tea. The sergeant has to go back out and inspect the motor car for our return trip, don't you, Sergeant?
Oh, right, sir. But it'll be right when you're ready to leave. So if you'll excuse me, gentlemen.
When in blazes are you going to get a telephone down here, Sherlock?
Never.
Well, how do you expect to get important messages?
I don't.
Well, it's damned inconvenient. One can't just pop down to Sussex Downs every time you're needed.
It may have escaped your notice that I have retired.
And as I've told you before, you're too young and too poor to retire. I put it down to simple laziness. But we're wasting time. Let me get to the point of this visit. Are we alone here?
Yes, my housekeeper left hours ago.
And Dr. Watson, I hope I shan't insult you by warning that not a word of what I am about to say must leave this room.
Of course. You have my word.
Very well. Here it is. King Edward is about to make a trip to Ireland to try to prevent a rebellion against England. We've been warning him and his ministers that it's too risky at this time, but His Majesty is a stubborn man and he's leaving for Dublin in 5 days on the 19th. It's to be very hush-hush. But now we've been reliably informed that there's a plot to assassinate him.
Is that so?
We're doing all we can. But Scotland Yard's methods are too well known. So, Sherlock, I've come all this way to ask you, as my brother and a patriot, to help save the life of our king.
I could only imagine his thoughts when Sherlock Holmes received what amounted to a royal command. He sank into a chair and stared at the fire as his brother Mycroft, one of the most powerful men in the Empire, stood behind him, waiting for a reply. At last, Holmes spoke, without turning round.
Tell me all you know about this.
According to my agent in Dublin, there's a band of Home Rule radicals there who found out the king is coming, and they mean to kill him. Apparently, there are 3 groups in the conspiracy. Those in charge of obtaining explosives, those in charge of placing them, and the 3rd group is supposed to plan their getaway after the bomb goes off.
So they're going to use a bomb. Who is their leader?
Someone who calls himself the Spider.
The Spider? How colourful. And how did he learn that Edward was coming to Ireland?
Obviously, there are spies among us.
I see. Anything more?
That's all we know, except for this. If the king is assassinated, it will very likely touch off an Irish uprising. We'll have to send an army into Ireland, and much blood will be spilt.
Assuming I could be of any help, Watson, what would you do if you were me?
I would put everything else aside and answer the call. Retirement or no?
Yes, I knew you'd say that. You may have taken off your uniform, but you're still a British soldier.
We are prepared to offer you anything you may need, Sherlock.
Well, of course, the simplest way to save the king's life is to have him stay at home.
Yes, that was my immediate recommendation, but he wouldn't hear of it.
I see. Well, under the circumstances, I suppose I can't refuse.
Excellent. I've arranged a suite for you at the Langham Hotel in my name. I farm out foreign dignitaries there all the time. They're very discreet.
You say you've arranged a suite for me already?
Well, I knew you'd come along.
I was thrilled to be on a case with Holmes again. After Mycroft left, Holmes seemed a different man. There was a quickness in his step and a brightness in his eyes that reminded me of the Holmes I'd met 22 years earlier. After a short night in a small back bedroom, I was awakened next morning as his elderly housekeeper, Martha, prepared our breakfast. After Holmes gave her instructions about caring for his bees, off we went into a fresh and rainless morning. 3 hours later, with only one spot of motor trouble along the way, we arrived at the Langham and parted company. But from that hour forward, Holmes kept meticulous notes, and from these notes and my later interviews with him, I have reconstructed all that took place, beginning with his arrival that afternoon in the office of Mycroft Holmes.
Come in, Sherlock. I think you know Commander Hatcher of Scotland Yard.
Good to see you again, Mr. Holmes.
I've just received word from our man in Dublin that the attempt on the King's life will be made here in England and not after the King reaches Ireland. That's why I telephoned Hatcher to come round.
Well, yes, and that's actually a point in our favor, we think. It will be easier to protect the King here at home than it would be in Ireland, so I'll double the guards around the palace.
What does the Yard know about the Spider, Commander?
Not much, I'm sorry to say, sir. At least not under that nickname.
I wonder, did he choose the nickname to conceal his identity or to glory in it? Is it code or just bravado?
Oh, I suppose he just picked a name that the papers would fancy.
Yes, if they pull it off, they'll brag about it forever.
I wonder just how literally the Spider will live up to his name. A spider first traps its victim in a web and then kills it. Would that be the modus operandi of our assassin, I wonder? To lie in wait and let the King come to him?
Well, that wouldn't be the case now, would it? I mean, if the assassin means to do his work right here in England.
But the King will be taking a train to Liverpool, won't he?
Yes.
So he could be carried right into the spider's web, so to speak.
Pardon me, sir, but aren't you taking this nickname a bit too literally?
So you're suggesting the Spider may strike his train, Sherlock?
Or he could be on his train.
Well, that will be quite impossible, gentlemen. No unauthorized person will get within 100 yards of the royal train while the King's on it. I guarantee it.
Nonetheless, Commander, I shall require maps of every foot of rail his train will use.
Very well, sir. I can get those for you.
Anything else you need from Mr. Hatcher before we let him back to work, Sherlock?
No, I don't think so. Not at the moment.
Then that will be all, Commander. Thank you for stopping by.
My honor, Minister. Good day, Mr. Holmes. I'll have your rail maps to you within the hour.
He called you Minister. I have been away, haven't I?
Minister at large is vague enough to serve most of my purposes. Now, Sherlock, what more can we do?
Who's planning the King's route to Liverpool?
Scotland Yard.
And the ship he'll take from Liverpool to Dublin?
A Navy gunboat.
If your information from Dublin is correct,
Our man in Dublin has always been dependable.
then the Spider is directing the attack from somewhere here in England, under our very noses.
Holmes waited for more than an hour, time spent weighing every possibility, until at last Commander Hatcher returned with rolls of maps in cardboard tubes.
These are the rail maps you asked for, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, let's spread them out here on the work table.
Now, if I may, gentlemen. The king will get aboard his train here at Victoria Station and will proceed on the Midland route. At Harlow, he'll take the western branch, sending him through Oxford, Cheltenham, through Birmingham to Dudley, West Bromley, then switch to the Scotland line and go right up north through Manchester and Stafford and on into Liverpool. The train won't be stopping anywhere along the route.
What about branch lines?
Well, there won't be a train moving on a branch line or a siding until the king has passed through.
Well, that looks all right, wouldn't you say, Sherlock?
And as for the engine, it's been thoroughly checked over as we speak and will be out of service and guarded until the morning the king begins his journey. It will draw only 3 carriages: the baggage car, the king's car, and the provisions car. We'll have men in all 3 cars, plus the engine cab itself. If I may say so, gentlemen, only a madman would try anything with the protection we've got.
Can you leave these maps with him for a while?
Certainly.
Good.
As I later learned, Holmes spent the rest of that afternoon studying the maps. He took his supper in Mycroft Holmes's office, but after dark, when he left, he wasn't seen again for days. And this at the very moment the life of the monarch was literally in his hands. That afternoon, after leaving Sherlock Holmes at his brother's office in Whitehall, I returned to Queen Anne Street. But I found it hard to keep my mind on my medical practice, knowing the king's life was at stake. So I finally shut up my surgery and went upstairs and made tea, hoping that I might receive a telephone call from Holmes with a report, or even a request for my assistance. Of course, I couldn't have known then that Sherlock Holmes had gone missing. Then, on the 17th of November, only 2 days before the king was to make his trip, Mycroft Holmes telephoned me.
Dr. Watson, has my brother been in touch with you at all?
Why, no, Mr. Holmes, he hasn't.
When did you last talk with him?
Well, not since Saturday afternoon when I left him at your door.
I see. Well, look here. If he should contact you, please have him call me immediately.
Hello, darling. Bring you a pint?
I'm here to have a word with the barkeeper.
Who, Taffy? He's busy. What do you want?
I want to show him something.
What do you want to show him?
I'll show it to the barkeeper.
I'm married to the barkeeper. You can show it to me.
All right. Have you seen anything like this?
What? A tattooed hand? Just show me your money or get out.
What might be going on here, Rosie?
This all sorts off his nut, Taffy. Look at his hand.
My name's O'Connor, and I'm looking for the lads who know this sign.
Ah, go on, old man. Get out of here. Go on back to the asylum or wherever you come from.
Let me talk to whoever runs this establishment.
That'll be me, Donahue. And what's your problem?
I've been all round this part of London, looking for the lads who know this sign.
Well, what have you got there? Ah, who did that to you?
Do you know anyone else with this sign?
No.
Then I'm in the wrong place.
Sorry, old man. It's closing time.
Then I'm too late for a drop.
We have to live by English rules, don't we?
Curse him.
What's that on the palm of your hand?
What does it look like?
Where'd you get that spider tattoo?
Kilkenny.
Where in Kilkenny would you be from?
Thomastown, born in Bennett's Bridge.
What are you doing around here?
Looking for some patriots.
Patriots? Of what country?
Are you daft? Ireland.
Wait here, while I clear the place out. All right, Mix, everyone out. Come on, closing up. Go on now. See you tomorrow. Now, my name's Flynn. Who are you?
My name's O'Connor. I've got a message for some lads who have a job of work to do on Thursday, but I don't know where to find them.
Thursday, you say? That'd be the 19th.
Right.
All right, O'Connor, what's your message?
Where are the lads?
What lads are those?
The ones with a job to do on the 19th.
Oh, those lads.
Don't play the fool with me, Flynn. We're all on the same side.
Well, suppose I get your message to those lads. What would the message be?
Why should I trust you? To me, you're just a saloon keeper.
And to me, you're just an old man with a spider tattooed on his hand.
I've got a message that could change what's going to happen Thursday.
The lads you want are already at their posts, but I can reach them if it's important. So give me the message.
My orders is to give the message directly to the lads with the bomb. All you have to do is tell me where to find them.
And how do I know you're not a British agent?
There's been a change in plans. And now I'm the only man Scotland Yard doesn't suspect. And I'll tell you one thing more. They've pulled Sherlock Holmes himself out of retirement.
And I'll tell you something. We know that. But it's too late for even him to stop us now.
Confound it, Sherlock. You can tell us now where you've been these past 4 days. We'll be in Liverpool in an hour.
Mycroft, I assure you, my notes will be complete when the king arrives safely, and you will receive my report directly after that.
Well, you did give the yard a bit of a turn, dropping out of sight the way you did, Mr. Holmes.
My apologies, Commander Hatcher, but in my line of work, as in yours, invisibility can be an asset.
But I fail to see why you wanted to order up this train we're on, Sherlock. Bad enough the King's special trains interrupting the normal schedules, without laying on this extra 3-car train going to the same destination.
Well, one of the things I did while I was out of touch for a few days was to ride the rail system. Really, quite an excellent one, far superior to the ones in America.
Yes, but the point
is, while our train is going to Liverpool too, and we departed London at virtually the same time as the train carrying the King, our routes will be slightly different. I believe Scotland Yard saw to that.
That's correct. At Harlow, the King's train takes the western branch through Oxford and Birmingham and so forth, while our train takes the northern route through Derby.
That indeed was your order. But only this morning I had that reversed.
What do you mean?
Using my brother's authority and code, I got in touch directly with the station master at Harlow by railroad telegraph. Perhaps you haven't noticed, Commander. We are taking the route you had scheduled the King's train to take, and the King's train is running on the northern route.
But that can't be.
Oh, it's really quite a simple thing for the switchman to throw a lever and change the direction a train takes as it goes through the switch.
I know all that, but you don't know what you've done.
Really? What have I done, Commander?
You got us off this train.
But we're approaching one of the most scenic parts of the ride, the trestle which spans the Trent River
In
Gorge.
God's name, stop this train!
What is the matter, Hatcher?
Well, Commander?
If the train goes onto that trestle, we're all dead men. What? The trestle will be blown up as soon as we pass onto it.
How do you know that?
Because Commander Hatcher of Scotland Yard is the Spider.
Nonsense! It is nonsense. Isn't it, Hatcher?
Just get the train stopped!
I'm afraid it's too late, Commander. At the speed we're going, it will take us at least 800 feet for us to stop. And if the trestle is blown up, our train will plummet 250 feet into the river below. Look out the window. They're going out on the trestle right now.
You'll kill us all. You'll kill us all. We'll be dead. We'll be...
Yes?
It didn't blow up.
No, it didn't. Because the explosives planted at the base of the trestle were confiscated, and the men who planted them are under arrest, as you will be, if my brother will exercise his authority as, what is it now, Minister at Large?
Good of your brother to stake us to dinner here at the Langham Hotel.
Yes, a far cry from the taverns I so recently visited as a character named O'Connor.
When did you realize that Hatcher was the Spider?
When Flynn, the tavern keeper, said he knew Sherlock Holmes was on the case. Only one other man knew that besides Mycroft, Commander Hatcher.
Yes, but how did you find the trestle with the bomb?
Elementary. There are 6 trestles on that rail line, any one of which, if it were blown up with a train on it, would have produced a calamity. But the Trent River trestle was the only one high enough to assure a fatal crash. So a constable and I rode a handcar over that trestle. There were a few men upstream pretending to fish from the riverbank, only they weren't equipped for fishing and they were dressed for the town. So, while the constable collared the men, I removed the fuses from the bombs.
And still got back to London in time to get on the train with your brother and Hatcher.
Just barely.
Why did you order the extra train?
To produce a confession. There's nothing like facing one's death to bring out an admission of guilt.
King Edward made his trip to Ireland in safety. Word of Hatcher's treason was not made public for fear it would arouse a new rebellion, but he was dealt with under English law. The plotters of his assassination were given separate sentences, and Sherlock Holmes returned to the solace of his farm at Sussex Downs, and I to my medical practice in Queen Anne Street. I've been puzzling over just what to call this adventure, and finally it struck me. And with Holmes's love of the pun and his newfounded avocation as a honey farmer, it seemed appropriate to title it The Bee and the Spider. And so it is. Until we meet again for another Sherlock Holmes adventure, I remain your faithful biographer, Dr. John H. Watson.
The Further Adventures of Sherlock Holmes are written and directed by Jim French and feature John Patrick Lowry as Holmes and Lawrence Albert as Dr. Watson. Also in our cast were Ted Dahms, Jeff Steitzer, Ellen McLean, and yours truly, Dennis Bateman. Sound effects were created by Cheryl Jacobs and David Person. Music was by Michael Lynch. The violinist was Coral Sepulveda. Our engineer was Jason Shavey. The characters of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson were created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and appear in books and stories by him. Use of these characters on radio is by special arrangement with the estate of Dame Jean Conan Doyle. This program was presented before a live audience. This is Dennis Bateman speaking. Further Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, featuring John Patrick Lowry as Holmes and Lawrence Albert as Dr. Watson.
My name is Dr. John H. Watson. To some of you who have followed my stories about Sherlock Holmes, it may seem that his services were always in constant demand. However, in the fall of 1889, despite having solved the hideous killings in the Tottenham Gallery several weeks earlier, Holmes experienced a period of inactivity. In the first week of December, I had just attended a patient whose condition had worsened and now required immediate admittance to a sanitarium. Being only half a mile or so from Baker Street and needing a change of mood, I decided to drop round to 221B for a visit with Holmes.
It's Dr. Watson. Oh, come in, Doctor. How nice to see you.
It's good to see you, Mrs. Hudson. How have you been?
Still hale and hearty, thanks be. And yourself? You're looking fine.
I've been quite busy lately. Is Holmes in?
Yes, he's in. I was just going up to collect his breakfast dishes. You know, Doctor, for the past fortnight he's been in one of his gloomy spells. But then a letter came this morning. I think he's back to his old self.
A letter, eh?
By special messenger at 6 a.m. It must have been good news, because he began to bustle about, and I even heard him whistling. He never whistles.
Well, we know he has his moods, but give him a juicy case and he's right as rain.
And how is your wife these days?
Mary? She's in excellent spirits, I'm glad to say. And today she's poring over a cookbook, planning what to serve for Christmas.
Ah, then she likes to cook, does she?
Can't you tell? I've had to buy new suits.
Watson, come in. I was just thinking about you.
Hello, Holmes. I was just in the neighborhood and
visiting a highly contagious patient.
Now, how on earth can you tell?
The marks from the sanitary mask are still impressed on your face.
Huh? They are? Oh, well, I must have tied it too tightly.
And by the evidence of your new clothes, your practice must be flourishing. Feel free to take the breakfast tray, Mrs. Hudson.
Yes, I'll only be a moment.
And how is it with you, Holmes?
My life has become a study in boredom. Scarcely a whisper of interest from anyone since that museum horror. But then this morning, a glimmer. A letter came from out of town, making me think of you and your predilections for idols in the country.
Well, I see for once you ate every scrap.
And, Mrs. Hudson, I shan't be dining here for the rest of the day, so you are now free to go and buy out the stores.
Buy out the stores, indeed.
You are in a chipper mood, Holmes. Is it the letter?
Like to hear it?
Certainly.
Dear Mr. Holmes, may I trouble you to consider helping us to locate one of our clergy who is missing? He is quite disturbed, and I fear he may try to harm himself. It is urgent that he be found before a tragedy takes place, and it is equally urgent that this matter remain confidential, for reasons which I will explain in detail if you will grant us the goodness of your help. I prayerfully await your earliest reply, for time is of the essence, and a life may hang in the balance. May God bless you. Most sincerely, the Reverend Kenneth Page, Vicar of the Anglican Church of Harrow.
Oh. What do you think?
I sent a telegram this morning telling him I would be there this afternoon. You wouldn't like to come with me, would you? I may need your medical knowledge, and I am almost certain you won't be chased by a crocodile this time. Of course, with a busy practice like yours...
Nonsense. Old Jackson would be glad to take my patients for a day or so. And Mary is so busy with her shopping, I doubt she'd even notice I'm gone. Of course I'll come with you, Holmes. With pleasure. And so began the case I call The Man Who Believed in Nothing. It was late afternoon when Holmes and I arrived in the Middlesex town of Harrow. The church stood on a road of gabled houses. On one side was a small cemetery, and on the other was a large two-story house. It was here that Reverend Page had arranged to meet us. He welcomed us into a darkly paneled study, warmed by a wood fire.
So terribly good of you to come so promptly. May I offer you tea or coffee? We do have some hot mulled wine.
Well, after the chilly trip, that would be most...
Perhaps later, thank you. Now, about the missing man. How long has he been gone?
Oh, since last night.
You've called the police?
No, as I mentioned in my letter, this is a delicate matter.
Delicate? In what way?
Well, Father Lantry certainly wasn't in his senses when he left.
Oh?
Miss Van Meter tells me she found him in a despairing mood last evening, before our evening service. They spoke for a few moments and then went their separate ways. Then, at just before 7, when I entered the sanctuary to prepare for Vespers, I discovered the gold altar cross and a pair of silver candlesticks were missing. Well, of course, the first thing that entered my mind was that we'd been robbed.
The church isn't kept locked when it's not in use.
Oh, no. The parishioners may need to come into the sanctuary at any time for prayer or meditation. But thinking we'd had a burglar, I immediately went to the sacristy to see if anything there was missing, and a silver communion chalice was gone.
Oh, I say. What a shame.
And what about the missing man?
Well, Father Lantry didn't turn up for Vespers, so I conducted the service by myself. But immediately after the benediction, I hurried up to his room to see if he was ill. And there, I found the missing items. Now you see why I must shield Father Lantry from any public shame.
Tell me all you can about him.
Well, he grew up in this parish and came out of the seminary and served as a deacon. Then he accepted a call to replace the chaplain at Blackwall Prison, but that turned out to be too much for him.
In what way?
Associating with that low class of men every day caused him to doubt his faith, and that brought on a nervous collapse. He resigned his post as chaplain, and the diocese decided it would be best if he were put under treatment at a mental hospital, Parkhurst Hospital in the West End. But in hospital he seemed to have convalesced well, so we welcomed him back to the parish and found quarters for him right here in the vicarage.
I take it he's unmarried.
Oh, yes.
Father Page?
Oh, yes. Oh, Alice, come right in, please. Gentlemen, our choir director and organist, Miss Alice Van Meter. Alice, these are the gentlemen who so graciously came up from London to help us. May I present Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson?
Dr. Watson? It's Dr. Watson, of course. Excuse me. I can't believe I'm actually in the same room with Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. I've read everything about you, Mr. Holmes.
Most kind of you.
I'm glad you enjoy the stories.
Now, Alice, I've been telling the gentlemen about what happened last night, and I thought they might have some questions for you.
Oh, I'll tell you everything I can, gentlemen.
The vicar was saying Mr. Lantry spent some time in a mental hospital.
10 months and a week, to be exact.
The vicar tells us you spoke with Mr. Lantry last night, shortly before he turned up missing.
Yes.
Did you have any concerns about him at that time?
Yes. Well, as you know, he'd been struggling with his faith, and he'd had another of his blank spells. He's been having them right along, but he didn't want you to know.
Describe these blank spells.
He forgets whole hours of time. He won't remember doing this thing or that. It's as if his mind went to sleep for a short time and then woke up again.
Watson, have you ever heard of this?
Well, it's rare, but not unheard of. The literature mentions it from time to time, but, well, I haven't seen it personally. It may be what they call a fugue.
Is it considered a form of insanity?
Well, you know there's no reliable measure for insanity. There's a broad line between normal and abnormal behavior.
What brings on these fugues?
Sometimes it's a shock of some sort, and typically he won't remember the cause when he comes out of it.
And so Mr. Lantry confided in you that he was having these mental lapses. What else?
He was terribly disillusioned by his work with the prisoners. I think he questioned why God would permit man to do such horrible acts.
Are you saying he lost his faith?
Yes, I suppose that's what it comes down to.
May we see his room?
Oh, certainly. Just follow me.
May I come too?
Oh, of course.
The priest's room was upstairs in the back. It had a thin rug on the floor, curtains at the window, a narrow cot, a chair and a writing desk, with a painting of the Last Supper hanging on the wall. The room was dominated by the heavy mahogany armoire.
Where did you find the missing goods?
There, in the armoire. Go on, open the wardrobe doors. You see, all his clerical garb is hanging there. 2 complete sets. That's all he had. So he left here wearing layman's clothing.
Holmes pulled open the drawers beneath the wardrobe. They were empty. He stood quietly in the middle of the room for several seconds. Then he walked to the cot and carefully lifted the blanket, then the pillow, then the thin mattress. And there, under the mattress, lay a single sheet of paper. He picked it up.
What's that?
Half a sheet of cheap writing paper, torn in half down the middle. Would you recognize Mr. Lantry's handwriting?
I think so.
I would.
Is this his writing?
Yes, it's his. But what's this he's written?
It appears to be a list.
What does it say? God? Self? Humanity? Country? Royalty?
Government? Education? Money? Science? Intelligence? Love?
Law? Loyalty? Honesty? Sympathy? And service to others. Now, what is this?
Things people believe in, it would seem.
Why would he have written this?
I'm more interested in what he wrote on the half that was torn away.
Now, how do you know he wrote anything on the other half of the paper?
Because, Watson, here, on the very edge where he tore it, is the start of another line of writing. You see it?
Oh, I missed that.
He may have thought better of what he wrote and thrown the other half away.
Mr. Holmes, how in the world did you know to look under his mattress?
I thought he might have left a note before he disappeared, and the only place to hide one in this room, if not in the armoire, was in or under his bed. Now, Miss Van Meter, would you by any chance remember what Mr. Lantry was wearing when you saw him last night?
Why, he was still in his vestments.
Does he own a coat?
Yes?
And a hat?
Yes.
And where are they?
Why, I don't know.
Well, I think for the moment at least, we may discard any fear that he's taken his life. He would hardly go to the trouble to dress against the weather if he went outdoors only to commit suicide.
But the question remained, where had the Reverend Lantry gone, and why? Holmes requested a private interview with Alice Van Meter, and the two of them went down to the sitting room by themselves for a few minutes, while I had coffee with the vicar. Afterward, Holmes joined me in the study. The vicar had excused himself to attend some parish business. Holmes paced round the study in an impatient mood, puffing on his pipe. And then suddenly he whirled and smote his forehead.
Of course! I know where he is.
Where?
Watson, make our goodbyes to the vicar while I see about hiring a carriage to take us to the train station.
We were able to catch a southbound train at 5:05 p.m., which made many stops on its way to London. During the trip, Holmes appeared to have fallen asleep, but then he said, without opening his eyes,
Go on, Watson, I'm not asleep, and you're about to burst like a tea kettle. I can feel the pressure from here. So ask away.
Well, to begin with, where are we going?
To Notting Hill, to the Parkhurst Hospital. That's where I believe we shall find Reverend Lantry.
What makes you think that?
The hospital was his first place of refuge after quitting his job as prison chaplain. But when he left there, he may still have felt he'd lost his faith. No doubt he feels great confusion and guilt. Where else to go but back to Parkhurst? But, Watson, if I'm right and we find him, I have reason to believe we can help him.
We got off the train at the Notting Hill Road station and took a hansom to Ladbroke Road, where there stood a manor house with a sign saying Parkhurst Hospital. We approached the matron on duty at the front desk.
May I help you?
We are here to visit a patient, Henry Lantry.
Your names?
Sherlock Holmes.
Dr. John H. Watson.
Oh, has Reverend Lantry been your patient, Doctor?
Dr. Watson is here in a consulting capacity. He is a specialist, as am I.
I see. Well, if you'll excuse me for a minute, gentlemen.
Consulting capacity?
Perfectly truthful. We're consulted by clients all the time, aren't we?
Well, yes, I suppose that's right.
Come this way, please.
She led us into a comfortably appointed office where we waited a minute or two. And then she returned with a pale, thin, haunted-looking man. He barely spoke as we were introduced. The matron remained in the room.
What do you want with me?
We want to help you.
They all want to help me. But there is no help, not for me. How did you know where to find me?
A fortunate assumption. Reverend Lantry, I think...
Don't call me that. Don't call me Reverend, not any more.
Very well. Mr. Lantry, I think I know why you left the parish so suddenly. You believed you had stolen money and valuables from the church while you were not aware of what you were doing. And when you came to your senses and found these things in your room, you decided to leave and come back here before you did something else. Perhaps something worse.
I don't know how you would know that.
We found the note you left.
The note?
This. You did leave this under your mattress.
I forgot I left it there.
What did you do with the other half of the page?
How did you know there was another half? I was going to burn it. Destroy it. But I kept it. I don't know why. The madness, perhaps.
Do you still have it?
It's with his things. Do you want me to get it, Henry?
Yes, you might as well.
I'll be right back.
Are you treated well here?
As well as I deserve.
Look here, Mr. Lantry. Holmes has information that will relieve your mind.
Nothing will relieve my mind. I've been cursed by Blackwall Prison. I went there to bring God to the inmates. But the inmates took God away from me.
But they couldn't do that, could they? Didn't St. Matthew quote God as saying, I am with you always?
Matthew 28, verse 20. I am with you always.
Even unto the end of the world.
Is this what you want?
Yes?
May I see it?
Here.
Now it makes sense. The list I found on the left-hand side of the paper was a list of things to believe in.
Things I ought to believe in. Things I used to believe in. Mr. Holmes, I left the chaplaincy at Blackwall with no belief left in me. It was burned out of me. I struggled day after day, but I felt like an empty shell. So one night I wrote down the things I ought to believe in, starting with God, so I could think and pray about them. Then on Sunday evening, after talking with Alice... Did you meet Alice?
Yes, we met her.
Well, I went up to my room and took out the list, and I saw that I had written something opposite each of the objects of belief, while I was out of my senses. It was so horrible, I tore it away.
But look, Mr. Lantry, look at these two lists. The right-hand column isn't your handwriting.
Oh, I'm afraid it was my hand, guided by the devil. Look what I wrote. Opposite service to others, I wrote waste of time. Opposite law, a contrivance of the ruling class. Opposite love, animal emotion. And worst of all, opposite God, superstition. I came back to my room and found what I'd done, stolen the cross and the rest, and I knew I had to leave right then.
What joy to have you back with us, Henry. And we shall do everything possible to make things just as they were before.
Or possibly not.
What do you mean? Father Lantry seems to be quite himself again.
I may still have occasions in which I go blank, but my doctor tells me these will gradually go away. But during the past few hours, Mr. Holmes made several things clear to me. And now I must make everything clear. Alice?
Yes, Henry?
I told Mr. Holmes about our conversation on Sunday.
You did what?
He told me how you had thrown yourself at him, Miss Van Meter.
Oh, why, surely you don't believe that.
Didn't you tell him that you could bring him health and happiness if you would marry?
We discussed our understanding, yes, but...
We had no understanding, Alice. But you were so determined that we should be married.
Oh, don't think I haven't had a lot of chances. Every bachelor in this parish wants to marry me. But I saved myself for you, Henry.
How did this conversation end, Mr. Lantry?
Oh, you won't tell him that, Henry. You mustn't.
She kissed me. I didn't expect it, but she kissed me.
And then what happened?
I was so dazed. I didn't remember anything until I found myself back in my room. And I opened my armoire and saw the cross and the chalice and the candlestick. Of course, I thought I'd taken them from the sanctuary myself without realizing it. So I knew I should leave and go back to where I couldn't do any more harm. I went back to Parkhurst.
How did those items get from the church into Mr. Lantry's room, Alice?
He took them. He'd been in the prison too long, you see, and it turned him into a criminal. I tried to protect you, Henry.
May we see your notes from the Christmas service?
What?
The notes you shared with me during our talk a few minutes ago.
Here.
Now, Mr. Lantry, the half page you tore away because you thought you had written it?
Yes, here it is.
Compare the handwriting, Reverend Page.
The writing on the right half is different.
Now, compare it to Alice's writing.
This is Alice's writing.
I don't know anything about it.
Mr. Lantry had listed the things he believed in. He'd shown you his list. He told you where he kept it. You took the opportunity to add to it. At the time, you hid the object from the church in his armoire, hoping Mr. Lantry would think he had written it, just as you hoped he'd think he'd stolen the goods. It was all part of your plan of revenge because Mr. Lantry refused to marry you. Isn't that right?
I forgive you, Henry. You're not in your right mind. After we're married, I'll take care of you.
Alice, my child, you'd better come with me now.
You don't need to be afraid anymore, my darling. I'll protect you. I love you. I've always loved you.
Come along, Alice.
They're evil men, Henry, like the men in the prison.
The vicar had a long talk with Alice Van Meter. More than that, we weren't told. But it was enough to satisfy Holmes, and we returned to London on the next train. A few days later, we received an invitation to come back to Harrow for the Christmas service at the church. And to my surprise, Holmes said he'd be there, if my wife and I would come with him, which I'm happy to say we did.
The Further Adventures of Sherlock Holmes are written and directed by Jim French and feature John Patrick Lowry as Holmes and Lawrence Albert as Dr. Watson. Also in tonight's play were Lee Parsh, Frank Buxton, Kate Fleming, and yours truly, Dennis Bateman. Sound effects were created by Cheryl Jacobs and David Person, and our engineer was Jason Shavey. The characters of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson were created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and appear in stories and books by him. Use of these characters in this radio series is by arrangement with the estate of Dame Jean Conan Doyle.
This is Dr. Watson again. Holmes and I shared many more adventures during our long friendship, and I'll tell you another one when next we meet.
The Further Adventures of Sherlock Holmes with John Patrick Lowry as Holmes and Lawrence Albert as Dr. Watson.
Do you swear by Almighty God that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name.
Sherlock Holmes.
Mr. Holmes, you are present at these proceedings as an amicus curiae, a friend of the court?
Correct.
Tell us, please, for anyone who doesn't already know, what is your occupation?
I am a consulting detective, my lord.
And you have communicated with the court to offer information relating to the trial of Emil Capstraw in the death of Artemis Ludwig?
Correct.
And what is this information?
That Emil Capstraw must not be tried for the murder of Artemis Ludwig.
And why not?
Because Artemis Ludwig was not murdered, and this trial is a mistake.
My name is Dr. John H. Watson. I think I may safely say that no man knows Sherlock Holmes better than I do. He sought no public acclaim. In fact, at one time he even turned down a knighthood. But when he read the reports of a murder trial taking place at Old Bailey, he fired off a telegram at once to the judge and was sworn in at the start of the second day of the trial, and immediately turned the courtroom into an uproar.
Quiet! Or I shall remove the spectators from this room! My lord, Mr. Gavin?
May it please the court, as a prosecutor for the Crown, I should like to examine the gentleman myself, in private.
I think not, Mr. Gavin. We shall hear what Mr. Holmes has to say in open court. So proceed with your questions.
Very well. Mr. Holmes, you call yourself a consulting detective. Will you please tell us what is a consulting detective?
I am the last and highest court of appeal in detection.
Come, Mr. Holmes. This is no time for modesty.
Quiet!
How are you different from a police detective?
Detection ought to be an exact science. I practice it as such.
And you say that you're better at detecting than the detectives at Scotland Yard?
Yes.
I see. And you say that you have evidence in this matter that Scotland Yard does not?
I simply observe the same evidence with more clarity.
Have you been hired by the defense, Mr. Holmes?
No.
Then what is your interest in this case?
My interest stems from my knowledge of Mr. Capstraw and his peculiar condition.
His condition? Are you a doctor, in addition to your other superior talents?
No, I am an observer of human nature.
And what have you observed in Mr. Capstraw?
That under no circumstances could he have murdered Artemis Ludwig. Not in the conventional sense.
I was sitting in the spectator section as Holmes testified. I had knowledge of Emil Capstraw myself, having been with Holmes on the afternoon when Capstraw first visited us in our rooms in Baker Street many weeks before. He was a distraught young man who stumbled in from the rain and stood before us with his cap in his hand. Holmes was annoyed at being disturbed. He'd been absorbed in research in his clipping files, but his curiosity soon erased his annoyance.
I see you're a teacher, Mr. Capstraw.
Yes, I am. How do you know that?
Oh, the obvious. Chalk dust on the bottom of your jacket cuff where it brushes the slate.
Oh, of course. And what more do you know about me?
Practically nothing. Except that you're left-handed, quite nearsighted, and you're in some want. Now, how can we help you?
You astonish me, Mr. Holmes. I heard you could do that, but is this some kind of trick?
Not at all. The chalk dust is only on your left cuff. Your myopia is obvious from your squint, and there's an indentation on the bridge of your nose where you've worn eyeglasses, and your shoes and clothing are badly worn.
Oh, well, there's nothing to it then, is there? But you're right on all counts. I've mislaid my eyeglasses. I am as poor as a church mouse, and I am left-handed. And have you also deduced that I've just lost my situation at Harbison School for Boys?
No, that I didn't know. What classes did you teach?
I taught 5th form, and now that I've lost my job, I'm afraid I won't be able to pay you. That is, if you should agree to help me. And I'm sure that my problem is too trivial to interest you anyway.
We'll discuss that after I hear what you want me to do.
Mr. Holmes, I am being destroyed by a person who was once my greatest helper.
Who is this person? Tell me everything.
His name is Artemis Ludwig. He came to me during the night a year ago, before I was to hand in a dissertation for my teaching degree. I'd all but given up on it and had fallen asleep at my writing desk. But when I awoke the next morning, there it was. Rewritten, eloquent, brilliant, far beyond my own abilities.
He came to you during the night? How did he get in?
There's no way to lock the door to my room. I have nothing worth stealing anyway.
You live alone?
Yes.
Your address?
Number 19 1/2 Orient Street, Lambeth.
How long had you known this fellow Ludwig?
But that's it, sir. I didn't know him. I'd never heard of him. But he must have known me, because after that first visit, from time to time he would come in during the night and complete my work for me while I was asleep. He'd grade student papers, correct their compositions. I didn't even know his name. Then I left a note for him on my desk one night before I went to bed. I just wrote, "Who are you?" And the next morning, he'd written the name Artemis Ludwig.
Do you have the note?
Do I have it? No, I threw it away.
Pity. But go on.
Well, I've been writing a textbook on ways to improve education techniques. I was certain that when I had it finished, it would be purchased by the Harbison School and I'd get some money and recognition. But then I began to notice changes were being made in my manuscript. Changes I didn't make, and I knew who was making them. Artemis Ludwig.
He did this while you were asleep, you said?
Yes.
Do you sleep in a different room from where you write?
Hardly. It's a one-room flat, half the size of this parlor.
Oh, now come, Mr. Capstraw. You never awakened when this chap was working only a few feet away?
I sleep like the dead, Doctor.
Go on with your story, Mr. Capstraw.
Well, yesterday I woke up in the morning, as I always do, at 6 a.m., and my manuscript was gone.
And what did you do then?
I went to school, and I went straight away to Mr. Hargrave, the headmaster, to tell him what had happened. And he as much as called me a liar and a fraud. There on his desk was my manuscript, with Ludwig's name on it.
And?
Well, anyone could see what happened. All the time Artemis Ludwig had been coming into my room, helping me. He'd been stealing from me, stealing my book. I tell you, I could kill him.
Calm yourself, Mr. Capstraw. Now, tell me the rest of it.
Well, Mr. Hargrave sacked me. Then and there, I was dismissed. And it's all because of Artemis Ludwig. But that's not the worst of it. Mr. Hargrave had already hired someone to take my place. And who do you think it was?
The way you told the story, it was inevitable. Artemis Ludwig has your job. Now, what do you want me to do for you?
I want you to force Artemis Ludwig to admit the manuscript is mine. And then I want my situation back.
I am not in that business.
Of course. I knew my troubles wouldn't interest you.
Oh, on the contrary, they interest me considerably. But I am neither a policeman nor a labour boss. However, here is what I will do. I will talk to the headmaster and to Mr. Ludwig.
Holmes stood by the window, looking down onto the street as our visitor hurried out into the rain, and I thought I heard him murmur, "Poor chap." And then he turned away and strode to his closet and put on his long ulster and a close-fitting cloth cap.
Coming, Watson?
Where are we going?
Hubbardston School for Boys. Perhaps it's not too late to meet the distinguished Artemis Ludwig in person.
And now, to return to my story. Classes were over at the Hubbardston School for Boys when our cab let us off in front of an ivy-covered building in Northumberland Street near Charing Cross Station. We walked in, and presently were greeted by a tall, somber-looking gentleman wearing a black frock coat of a style that was in fashion 50 years before.
Roderick Hargreaves, the headmaster. How may I be of service, gentlemen?
I am Sherlock Holmes, and this is my associate, Dr. John H. Watson.
How do you do? Do one of you have a boy in the school?
No. I'd like a word with the new teacher you've hired, Mr. Artemis Ludwig. Would he be on the premises?
Excuse me, Mr. Holmes, but I really must ask you to tell me your purpose in this interrogation.
I should like to know the circumstances that caused you to discharge Mr. Capstraw and hire Mr. Ludwig.
Mr. Holmes, as headmaster, I have the right to hire and fire as I see fit.
I'm sure you do. But I know only Capstraw's side of his dismissal. I should like to hear Ludwig's. And yours.
Very well. Capstraw had become quite unsatisfactory. He was often tardy for his classes. He grew slovenly in his appearance, and he was far too lenient in his grades. So, when Professor Ludwig became available, I decided that he was much more suitable for this position.
I see. And did Professor Ludwig happen to show you a manuscript of his, a textbook?
Yes, he did. I haven't had time to read it yet, but I intend to do so this weekend.
Fine. Now, may we have a word with Artemis Ludwig?
I'll have to go and see if he's still here. Classes ended half an hour ago. He may have left. Just wait here, please.
And so we waited. 10 minutes must have passed, and then the headmaster returned, alone.
As I thought, Professor Ludwig has left for the day.
Then perhaps you can give us his home address.
That I cannot. He has just come to London from Berlin, and I understand he is staying in a hotel until he can find permanent lodging.
Which hotel?
I have no idea. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a great deal of work to do.
Tell me something, Holmes. What is it about this matter that interests you enough to spend your own time and money when there'll be nothing in it for you?
The novelty of it, for one thing. I've never had a case like this. A mysterious scholar who enters a stranger's digs night after night and corrects and then steals a manuscript. And how did Ludwig get to know Capstraw, especially if Ludwig is from Berlin? Why would he help an obscure school teacher, a total stranger, then take his job from him? No, there are too many questions to ignore. It's quite irresistible. Besides, I have nothing else to do.
Well, if this district is where Capstraw lives, I pity him. So run down. Just look at the buildings. We're turning into Orient Street now.
Here we are, cabby. There's 19.5.
A dark set of stairs led us up from the street.
Didn't he say his door had no lock?
He did mention that.
I say.
Mr. Capstraw, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson.
What a miserable place. Just the one room is a bed, desk, a table, 2 chairs, and a gas jet.
And there's a sheet of paper on the desk with an ink bottle on it. It's a note for Ludwig. Artemis Ludwig, have contacted Sherlock Holmes. He wants to see you. Address is 221B Baker Street in the West End. And it's signed Emil.
Holmes and I hurried back to Baker Street, where he assigned me to await the possible arrival of Artemis Ludwig, and he gave me specific instructions as to what to do if Ludwig arrived before Holmes returned. Holmes, meanwhile, said he was off to the telegraph shop, and not to expect him for supper. It was past 9 o'clock when I heard Holmes's familiar tread on the stairs.
Any visitors?
I'm afraid not.
Well, actually, I didn't think Ludwig would come, but I needed you to be here in case he did.
Meanwhile, I've consulted someone who may be able to add some intelligence to this mystery.
Oh, who's that?
A chap in Vienna. I've been reading some of his work. I wired him the details as we know them and waited for a reply, which came quite promptly and was in English.
Really? Who is it?
I doubt his name would mean anything to you, Watson, although he practices on the fringes of your profession. But fortunately, my name was known to him. We exchanged 2 cables apiece.
Holmes, in heaven's name, why are you spending all this time and energy?
Oh, and money. Don't forget the small fortune on telegrams and taxis.
Yes. Why are you doing this on a case that isn't really a case at all? No crime is being committed.
Possible plagiarism.
Well, but nobody's life is in danger.
Don't be too sure.
And your client is virtually penniless.
Watson, since all life is an education, I expect to learn a thing or two that may help me earn a handsome fee in some future case. Besides, I'm certain that what we're dealing with here is not exactly what it seems. Now, let us not waste any more... I'll get that. Yes? Oh, a card. Aha! Send him up. The long-awaited Artemis Ludwig is paying us a call.
And in a moment, a man in his 30s, dressed in a gentleman's attire, hurried into the room and stood stiffly before us.
Artemis Ludwig, at your service.
He actually bowed and clicked his heels.
I am Sherlock Holmes, and this is Dr. John H. Watson. Please have a seat.
Ludwig sat down and removed his grey kidskin gloves and placed them in his bowler hat, which he held on his lap.
My friend Emil Capstra tells me you wish to see me on a matter of some importance.
Yes, thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Now, what can I do for you, Mr. Holmes?
I have a few questions.
I shall attempt to answer them.
Mr. Ludwig, there is...
Professor, if you don't mind.
My apologies. Professor Ludwig, there is something that interests me.
And what is that?
Why did you enter Emil Capstra's life?
That is a strange way of putting it.
You stole into his room, improved his literary efforts, and corrected his papers all in the middle of the night.
Correct.
And you left after each visit without having awakened him.
That is also correct.
But then you appropriated his manuscript and claimed it as your own.
That is not correct. The manuscript is mine. Emil constructed a fantasy that he had written it, when in fact it is my work, 100%. You see, Emil suffers a mental derangement.
How did you meet him?
At the Harbison School. After coming here from Berlin, where I had been an instructor at the Hochschule, I applied for a teaching position at the school, but there was nothing open. But that day I visited Emil's classroom and observed him teaching. Quite frankly, I was appalled at his unprofessional manner, knowing that he would never accept my corrections, yet feeling a grave responsibility to the impressionable young men in his class. I took it upon myself to correct his work at night while he was asleep. He is a deep sleeper, and I am by nature a night person, so it was a perfect match.
But if I am informed correctly, you left the manuscript in Miss Capstra's room.
As an incentive to Capstra. And besides, I feared it might be stolen if I kept it at my hotel.
And which hotel is that?
Well, I've just moved. Now that I am employed at the Harbison School, I can afford better accommodation. Now, if there's nothing else, I must keep an earlier appointment. Auf Wiedersehen, gentlemen.
Professor Ludwig left as quickly as he had come, and no sooner had the door closed than Holmes snatched up his own coat and cap.
Watson, call a cab and meet me on Orient Street. Stay out of sight until you see me arrive, then do exactly as I say.
I followed Holmes' instructions and was witness to the climax of the strange case I call the death of Artemis Ludwig.
Order! Be quiet or I shall clear the court.
Mr. Holmes, since you've not been called by counsel for the Crown or for the defense, you may not be acquainted with the facts in this case, which are these. Artemis Ludwig has disappeared. His clothes, his papers, and his personal effects were found in the ash bin in Emil Capstra's room. Capstra tried to cash Professor Ludwig's first paycheck from Harbison School by forging his endorsement signature. Capstra had a motive to kill him, revenge for stealing his manuscript and his job. And lastly, Capstra himself, when questioned by the police, said he had done away with Ludwig once and for all. Were you aware of these facts?
Quite aware, Mr. Gavin.
And do you dispute any of them?
Not at all.
Then how can you say that Capstraw could not have murdered Ludwig, as you claim?
Emil Capstraw could not have murdered Artemis Ludwig because Artemis Ludwig never existed. The man my associate and I met in our rooms, the man hired to teach at Harbison School, the man Dr. Watson and I followed, was Emil Capstraw in the identity of the fictitious person he had fashioned in his mind, Artemis Ludwig.
Yes, kind of pommyrot are you saying, Mr. Holmes?
If it please the court, I should like Dr. John H. Watson to be sworn in as a witness.
Oh, go ahead. Every other protocol is out the window. Call him, bailiff.
Is Dr. John H. Watson in the court?
Right here. I'm coming.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear by Almighty God that the evidence you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name.
John Hamish Watson.
Occupation?
Physician, retired.
Well, what do you have to tell us about the claims made here by Mr. Holmes?
Well, after we interviewed the man calling himself Artemis Ludwig, Holmes followed him across town into the room occupied by Emil Capstraw. I was already waiting outside. We followed Ludwig in the door, where he tore off his garments and his blonde wig and became Emil Capstraw again.
Now, just a minute. Are you saying Capstraw had been impersonating Ludwig?
No. As Holmes pointed out to me, an impersonator pretends to be someone he isn't. Capstraw actually has two distinct identities. That of the humble, impoverished schoolteacher and that of the arrogant German educator. They both exist within the same body. There followed one of those dramatic moments of which Holmes is so fond. He asked that Capstraw be called to the stand, and in a few moments, Ludwig emerged, and the judge and the barristers fell back in astonishment as the man they thought Capstraw had killed came forth in a torrent of German.
How in blazes did you catch on to this, Mr. Holmes?
It was his shoes and his hands, my lord. When Ludwig peeled off his gloves, and as he clicked his heels, my attention was drawn to his hands and his shoes. They were the same, and in the same unkempt condition, as were Capstraw's.
And so, the murder charge was dropped, and Capstraw, or Ludwig if you like, was sent to St. Mary's of Bethlehem, the asylum for the insane, commonly known by its nickname, Bedlam.
The Death of Artemis Ludwig was written and directed by Jim French and featured John Patrick Lowry as Sherlock Holmes and Lawrence Albert as Dr. Watson. Also in tonight's play were William Hamer, Douglas Young, Jim French, and yours truly, Dennis Bateman. The characters of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson were created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and appear in stories and novels by him. Use of these characters on radio is by arrangement with the estate of Dame Jean Conan Doyle.
And now this is Dr. John H. Watson. I'll share a further adventure of Sherlock Holmes when next we meet.
The Further Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, featuring John Patrick Lowry as Holmes and Lawrence Albert as Dr. Watson.
My name is Dr. John H. Watson, and this is a story of 2 attempted murders. The story began after I moved out of 221B Baker Street to marry my 3rd wife. After I left Baker Street, I seldom heard from Holmes. Being a new bride, my wife felt it was her fault that my old friend shunned our company. But I explained that Holmes, bohemian that he was, simply disliked social conventions, the small talk, what he called false congeniality. He was glum when circumstances required him to be on display, as he put it. So he avoided any occasion that wasn't connected with the case he was investigating. Otherwise, except for a concert or a play now and then, which he attended alone, he kept to himself. And so it was a great surprise on a fine fall day in 1902, when I was buying some fruit down at a riverfront produce stand, that I was accosted by a gaunt cockney who placed his long fingers around the melon I had picked up.
Here, now, turn loose of that, it's mine.
I beg your pardon?
That melon, it's mine.
It most certainly is not.
I had my eye on that melon before you ever showed up. I was just talking over a small price reduction with a greengrocer when you ups and snatches it out from under my nose.
My good man, there must be 36 melons here.
Then pick another. This one's mine.
Oh, good heavens. All right, take it then.
Oh, Watson, I'm disappointed in you. You gave up too easily.
Holmes!
And I did have it in mind to bring that very melon back to Mrs. Hudson. Well, she'll just have to do with an inferior one. What a pity.
Oh, what are you doing in that get-up? You look a fright.
Just on my way home from a bit of surveillance. My query met the woman I expected him to meet and drove off in a cab, so my work is over for a while. How have you been?
Don't tell me you've been reduced to following errant husbands.
Not at all. The woman he met was his sister, and I witnessed a reconciliation, not an assignation, which should result in much happiness for all concerned, including me, for the family is rich and my services are being handsomely paid for. But how are you and your new wife these days? Are you making any little Watsons?
Holmes, what a thing to say.
My apologies, Watson. I do enjoy playing the rogue. By the way, are you very busy? No. You can't be busy if you're shopping away down here, 2 hours before your office hours are over. Care to sample a glass in the Yellow Sail pub? It's just round the corner.
Well, no, I'm not busy. But you're hardly dressed to go anywhere looking like that.
As you'll recall my mentioning to you once, I have 5 convenient wardrobe closets hidden around London at different addresses. That way I can be any number of different characters when following someone. Besides, in the Yellow Sail, I'll fit in perfectly. It was a singularly uninteresting case of finding and reuniting a prodigal son with his family, who happened to be quite prominent in London politics, which is why they chose me over Scotland Yard. I'd followed the young man across town, watching him finally decide to meet his sister. He did. They embraced and got into a waiting hansom for a trip back to the family's manor. Case happily closed. I'm expecting a substantial cheque in the first post tomorrow.
Bravo, Holmes.
No, it was nothing any thick-brained gumshoe couldn't have done at half the price. I don't know, Watson. Boring. I may have to take up the needle again.
Holmes?
Just teasing you, old man.
Yeah, mate. Would you be Mr. Holmes? Mr. Sherlock Holmes?
I am.
This is from a bloke in the back of the place.
What's this?
How would I know? He said to give it to you.
No one knows me here. What does he want?
Look up. I'm a barkeep, not a tech. You want to know or not?
Thank you.
What does it say?
It just says, see me.
That's all?
And it's signed, you will know who I am.
What are you going to do?
Follow it up, by all means. Care to come along?
Is it one of the dart players, do you think?
No, nothing distracts a dart player.
A man in one of those booths?
No one I recognize there.
Well, we're almost to the back of the room.
Wait. He's a fellow getting to his feet.
Oh, yes, I see him. Don't I know him? Do you recognize him?
Yes. But it can't be.
He's coming forward. Who is he?
Unless my eyes deceive me, Watson, it's Dr. Bennington.
Bennington? It's impossible. I read that he died in hospital at Bedlam. Bennington is dead. The man who was approaching us in the tavern looked as if he might have just come up from the docks, with canvas trousers and a coarse cotton shirt open at the throat. His yellow hair was tousled, and his sailor's heavy jacket was thrown over his shoulder. As I got within 6 feet of us, I recognized the eyes of a killer, glittering with a deranged kind of lust. It was indeed the former medical doctor, Bennington.
Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, how odd. Where I see one, I always see the other as well. But I wish to speak with Mr. Holmes alone, Doctor, so kindly withdraw.
Stay right here, Watson.
Don't worry, I will.
So, Bennington, the reports of your death in the madhouse were grossly overstated.
Oh, no. The poor wretch they found with his throat cut and his face removed was identified most positively as Dr. Bennington, the victim of another crazed inmate. So I can't be Bennington, can I?
Watson, go call a policeman.
And what will you tell him? That you have a killer cornered? Well, that wouldn't do your reputation any good, Mr. Holmes, since Bennington is certifiably dead. My name is now William Hurley, a poor dockhand, and I'm well known here, and well liked. See how they look at you? I don't think you'd want to cross any of these fellows.
What do you want of me, Bennington?
Just a bit of my own. You owe me a great deal. Twice you put me away. My poor wife died cursing your name. But I always was your superior in imagination, in intellect, and in cunning. You didn't know I've been following you, did you? No, you didn't. Well, the world is too small for the two of us, Sherlock, so one of us must leave it.
Have it as you will.
Oh, I shall. And now, finally, you or I shall die.
Then I will warn you, Bennington. From this day on, I'll be carrying a loaded revolver, which I assure you I shall use if I have to. Come along, Watson. We're done here.
I can't wait until our next meeting, Sherlock. And it will be sooner than the last time.
We left the tavern and went back into the street. But Holmes was walking so fast I had to skip to keep up. Holmes, your legs are longer than mine. Could you possibly slow down a little? I'm sure he isn't following us. That's better.
I'm sorry, Watson. Perhaps it would be best if we separated. You needn't put yourself in danger on my account.
You're going to need a bodyguard, and I have the skill to act in that capacity.
And the courage, too, but no.
And I am also your friend.
And I know that also. But for now, what I need is solitude.
I thought after Limehouse and then the Billingsgate matter we'd never see Bennington again. Then the reports of his being killed.
Yes, I can see I underestimated his cunning and determination.
The man's as evil and as obsessed as Professor Moriarty. His madness, his jealousy of your fame, his threat to your life, it's Moriarty to the bone.
No, Bennington has his own reason to want me dead. Remember, he blames me for causing the War Office to commit him to Bedlam for his own good after the Sino-Japanese War. It was after that he escaped and went on his first killing spree that ended in the tea room in Limehouse where he tried to kill us both. Then he was found insane and sent back to Bedlam for life. Oh, yes, he has much against me. And now he's killed and escaped again. It'll be hard to stop.
Do you have any kind of plan?
I shall have by tomorrow.
And so I went home and told my wife all that had gone on. Meanwhile, when Holmes got back to Baker Street, he fired off a telegram to the lad named Griggs, the leader of the band of ragamuffins Holmes called the Baker Street Irregulars, homeless boys who served as eyes and ears for Holmes when he couldn't go in person. The 6 urchins could be given any assignment, and they would spread out across London, barely noticed among the hundreds of homeless waifs who roamed the street day and night, and bring back virtually any information that Holmes might require. It was only an hour or so later that the sound of a dozen bare feet on the stairs of 221B announced their arrival. Griggs, who was about 14, stood at attention with the other lads lined up behind him.
I got your message, Gov, and me and the boys are at your service for our usual fee, plus 3 bob and a tanner for the underground.
You shall have your 3 bob and a tanner, plus a guinea apiece each day I need you, if you can shadow a certain man for me. I must know his comings and goings, day and night.
A guinea each? Who is he?
He's calling himself William Hurley. He stands 6 feet tall, well-built, blonde hair, and works in a labour trade somewhere near the docks at Halifax Street. It's only fair to tell you, he is criminally insane and a murderer.
Cool.
And he wouldn't hesitate to kill any of you if it suited his purpose. At all costs, don't let him follow you.
How? Now I see why you're paying so good.
Now, have your boys report to you, and you will report to me by way of the telephone. Do you know how to use one?
All my lads know how to do that. I trained them myself.
Excellent. Now, hold out your hands, Griggs. This will pay your first expenses.
Right.
And when you ring up Central, just tell them to connect you to Sherlock Holmes in Baker Street.
Got it.
And if for some reason I am not here, you are to call and report to Dr. John H. Watson in Kensington.
Watson in Kensington. Got it.
The following morning, I took a cab round to Baker Street. Holmes looked as if he hadn't slept, and the air was filled with pipe smoke, as it always was when he was pondering a solution. He told me of his contact in the Irregulars, as he busied himself cleaning his revolver and loading cartridges on a table spread with the morning paper.
Watson, I must rid myself of this lunatic once and for all. I have no intention of waiting for him to ambush me, so I intend to go after him.
Well, I brought my Adams 6-shot cleaned and loaded.
Bennington is bent on revenge, so it won't satisfy him to simply assassinate me. He's contemptible enough to kill someone who is close to me before he tries to kill me.
Someone close to you?
Namely, you.
Oh, you don't really think
Not since Moriarty have I dealt with a species like Bennington. There is no limit to his depravity. I've given this much thought during the night, Watson. You must disappear.
Disappear? I can't. I can't just disappear. What about my wife?
She must disappear with you.
My army service in Afghanistan toughened me against threats to my own life. But when Holmes warned me that my bride might become an innocent victim of this creature, I felt fear and loathing beyond anything I'd ever felt before.
He's working at Jasper's Shipbreakers, Mr. Holmes, tearing old boats apart. He quit at 5:30 and went to the Yellow Sail for a pint.
The Yellow Sail. Yes, go on.
Well, then he hired a cab and drove to 36 Thayer Street, went in a door and never came out.
36 Thayer Street. You're quite sure of the address?
Mr. Holmes, Griggs is on the job.
I see. And when was this?
10 before 7. The bloke never came out. I had a man watching a back door too, but he never came out.
Now tell me, was Hurley carrying a bag or a suitcase when he went into 36 Thayer Street?
No.
You're quite sure?
I said it, didn't I?
Good man, Griggs. Very good.
So, what do you want us to do now?
Nothing. The next move is up to me.
Well, I told you earlier that Holmes had insisted that I stay at home with my wife while he dealt with the murderous Bennington himself. I was tormented by the thought of Holmes facing this diabolical madman alone, so you can imagine my state of mind when my telephone rang just after 10 o'clock on the first night of our quarantine. Yes, Dr. Watson here.
Dr. Watson, and how is your practice these days? I hear you're turning them away.
Who is this?
Why, I'm a colleague of yours.
Bennington?
Excellent, Doctor. You have a good ear.
What do you want?
Your old friend Sherlock has need of you, John. I'd put him on the wire, only he's tied up right now. So I'm ringing you up to give you a message. Sherlock is about to expire, and I'm sure you'll want to be at his side as he breathes his last breath.
Where are you? Put him on the telephone.
I'm sorry. He's in no condition to talk to anyone.
You fiend! You've killed him.
No. He's still alive. I give you my word as a fellow practitioner of the sacred art of medicine.
Your word? Why should I believe anything you might say? If you have Holmes, put him on the telephone.
I could kill him now, and thanks to the miracle of the telephone, you could actually hear it. Aren't modern inventions wonderful?
I don't believe you. If you have him, let me speak to him.
My, you are a stubborn one, aren't you? But very well. Give me a minute to take the bandage off his mouth.
Bennington, if you have any decency left in you...
Decency? Oh, I still possess a certain decency, or I would have killed him by now. But I know what a dear friend you are to him, which is why I'm inviting you to his side for a final reunion. All right, I'm putting the mouthpiece to his lips. Say something, Sherlock.
In God's name, Watson, stay away.
There, that's enough. Now, the bandage goes back on.
Where are you keeping him? Bennington? Where is he?
Ah, but first a few rules, John. You will come alone. You will come unarmed. If you disobey, Sherlock will die very painfully.
Fine. I'll come unarmed.
Secondly, if you alert anyone else, Sherlock dies even more horribly.
Yes, all right. I'll do anything you say.
Now, there is one final requirement. How much cash do you have there in your house?
I don't know. We don't keep much money on hand.
You go to the bank to deposit on Fridays, and this is Thursday, so you will bring me all the cash you have.
I'll bring you every penny I can lay my hands on, only please don't do anything to Holmes. I beg of you.
I'll expect you here in no more than 20 minutes.
But where? Where do I go?
Number 36 Thayer Street. Walk up one flight.
I flagged a passing cab and paid the cabby £5 to drive me to 36 Thayer Street as fast as his horse could go. After what seemed an interminable ride, at last the hansom pulled up in front of a nondescript house. The number 36 was dimly visible by the door.
22 minutes. You're late. What kept you, Doctor?
I came as fast as I could. Where is Holmes? Is
he still alive? Yes. Now, let's finish what we're here to do, shall we? Follow me.
It was a small room, bare of anything but a table, and a chair in which Sherlock Holmes sat, bound with ropes, a surgical bandage across his mouth. There was a candle burning on the table, and beside the candle, a revolver.
First, John, let's see if you're as good as your word. No weapons, good. And how much money did you bring me?
£35.
£35. Is that all the world's greatest detective is worth?
That's every penny we had.
Well, no matter. Do you see that pistol there?
Yes.
That will be the means of execution.
I beg of you, Bennington.
Since Sherlock Holmes is going to die, I thought I'd give you the honor.
The honor of what?
Of being his executioner.
I won't do it.
I assumed you'd say that. Well, the option is, if you do it, being the surgeon you are, you can put him out of his misery with one well-placed shot. Of course, if I do it, it might take him an hour to die. Maybe longer. Now, here is the gun. By the way, it's Sherlock's own pistol. That should turn some heads at Scotland Yard. Then, when you've sent him to be with the angels, I promise you a speedy end from my own gun. Now, pick up the revolver, John.
I looked at Holmes. Over the bandages, his eyes seemed calm. He blinked twice, slowly. He nodded his head toward the gun.
Time is fleeting, John. And if you think to turn the gun on me, you will be dead before you can pull the trigger.
There was nothing I could do. With my hand shaking like palsy, I picked up the gun. Holmes nodded once more, as if encouraging me to get it over with.
And watch that you aim it properly. If you miss, then I'll see that you and your friend suffer for a long, long time.
Holmes nodded again, harder this time. I stood 3 feet from him and aimed the pistol at his temple.
May God forgive me. His head jerked, and his body toppled off the chair and onto the floor behind the